excitement over small wins goes the longest way. Just a little bit of encouragement, celebrating the wins, even when they're little, celebrating when they're big. You got to celebrate the win.
Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of Math Therapy. It's me, Vanessa. I am with Devon Lougheed. Why am I with him? Who is he? Here's the deal. So basically, I was like, oh shit, I've got to record an episode for this week. What do I want to talk about? And I was like, oh, it's so hard to think because I have been in the studio for the past month recording an album with my band Goodnight Sunrise, and Devon is our producer. The thing is, I started thinking to myself that the entire time I've been in the studio, you don't know this, Devon, but I've been thinking to myself, oh my God, being in the studio watching Devon at work as a producer is like watching a mathematician. It's like watching our dream, like don't get like too excited, like your ego, like check it. But it's like watching our dream scenario when we think about kids doing math, because so much of what I talk about and my friends talk about in this space is like to be a mathematician, to be somebody who gets through and pushes through their anxiety about math. You have to be willing to take risks, to make mistakes, to like throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And everything about recording an album is that. I actually watch you and I'm like, I don't know how you do it. We have all these songs, we bring them to Devon and he puts them together. He's like, okay, let's try this guitar thing. Let's try this drum thing. Guys, we just put a microphone on a toilet and flushed it. So I figured for this week, I was going to interview Devon. Not because like music is math in the traditional sense that we all talk about, like yes, it is, but because music is math in the sense that it requires perseverance and resilience and growth and curiosity and experimentation and all of these things that make math class so beautiful that we're trying to interject in math class. Okay, hi.
Hi.
Have you ever been on a podcast about math education?
I have never been on a podcast about math education, but so far I'm having a great time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far I've done all the talking.
Yeah.
Okay, I am very curious. When I watch you, I see a person who is fearless in just trying shit. Like you seem to not care that like something you do might not work out and we might have to re-record it, for example.
Yeah.
Is
totally.
that how you feel?
I think so. I mean, I think this is kind of coming off the top of my head right now with you talking about math, but I feel like when I think about math, sometimes I feel like there's only one right answer and only one way to get there. And maybe that's how it feels with music or recording or with all this gear. It's like, there's a right way to get the guitar sound that you want. And there's a way that things have always been done. But to me, part of the fun of being in the studio is that there kind of are no rules in a lot of ways. There can be best practices. There can be ways that people have done it before. But a lot of the fun is trying various things, and maybe you find a new way to accomplish a tone or a new way to make a chorus pop or different things like that, where experimentation and kind of free play with sounds and music and arrangement can really produce interesting results.
So have you been in a scenario, like I feel like this has probably happened this week, where you've tried something and you were like, oh, that did not turn out well?
Yeah, I think a lot of times we have to try stuff just to see. And sometimes I'll have an idea or you or David will have an idea and it's like, okay, let's try it. And then only by actually trying it, we can realize that it was genius level idea or not that great of an idea, but then at least having tried it, now we know it wasn't that great of an idea. And so we've learned something. We come out ahead anyway.
Okay, so let's like do a little like math regroup. You could say in solving a math problem, maybe you're like, I have an idea of how I'm going to solve it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use this formula, or I'm going to start drawing a diagram, or I'm going to whatever. And along that path, you discover it's actually not working.
Yeah.
It's not leading you closer to like the outcome you want.
Yeah.
But in doing that, you have probably learned something.
Yeah, I mean, you've eliminated a method, right? Or you could say this was not the right formula to use, or maybe, oh, look, I actually messed up the formula and I only discovered that by trying it.
So here's something interesting you said, and this is what catches a lot of people, and we're gonna solve everyone's problems right now.
I can't wait.
You said that the thing with you started right off the bat by being like, yeah, I think the thing with math is that there is usually only one answer and one way to get there.
Yeah. Or that it seems like it.
It seems like it. I guess the truth is there is usually one answer.
Yeah.
There usually is only one answer.
Yeah.
Like if I was like, what's 5 plus 3?
Right.
There's like, we want you to probably...
I do know the answer.
Okay.
I don't want to brag.
Okay. Okay. There are many ways to get there.
Right.
So I would imagine for a kid, like let's put a kid in the shoes of they're approaching this with creativity. They're like 5 + 3. Okay, I've got to add these things together. I have no idea how to do it. How would like a producer approach that? Like what advice would you give to this kid?
I'm always a fan of trying to break stuff down into smaller steps. If it's sort of like, I mean, maybe 5 + 3 is very simple, but it's like, oh, I don't understand how to add 5 to something, but I can add a 2 and a 3 and a 3. Or I can visualize, maybe I have marbles. So I'm like, oh, there's 3 marbles there, 2
Right.
marbles there. So that makes 5. And then I have these other 3. So I always think breaking stuff down into steps might make finding the solution at least a bit less overwhelming. Because it's like, maybe in math, you're just trying to figure out, okay, I know I don't know the answer. What kind of formula do I need here? Am I talking about a circle? Am I talking about whatever?
And like I'm being unfair because you're not a math teacher at
Oh,
all.
you noticed?
But no,
Yeah.
but the thing is that's why I'm saying if you approach this as you are a producer, you are a problem solver,
Yeah.
right? Like we come
Hundo
in,
P, yeah.
we give you a song and we say, we don't know what this lyric is. What can it be?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm going to try some stuff out.
Totally.
So it's the same. We have 5 + 3 and you are not a math teacher. So you have no idea how to do this, what quote unquote best practices are. But as a producer, how you would go about solving the problem by being like, okay, maybe I've got some marbles. Maybe I can relate it to something I do know.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just try some stuff out.
I'd be like, well, the last time I did addition, it wasn't these numbers, but this is how I did it. And maybe I could use some of the knowledge with that and just roll the dice.
Right. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out where we go. Like you're talking about it in such this beautiful, lighthearted way.
Yeah.
And I'm actually wondering how much it matters that there is an answer. Like how much that detracts from the creativity that you show in the studio where you're like, because like, let me ask you this, when you're suggesting something on a song, when you're like, okay, we're going to play the guitar this way, or we are actually going to, I want you to go in and record some vocals. Do you have an outcome in mind?
Generally, yes. I mean, there is a goal. And as fun as it would be to just like say, oh, you guys come into the studio for a couple of weeks and we'll just see what happens. It's, you want an album at the end of it.
Right.
So I am kind of keeping.
So there is a result
There's a result. There's definitely a result. But I think the trick is to make it so fun that you guys don't realize I'm pushing us towards a result.
Huh.
You're like, well, we just went in and played. Didn't it just feel like we played around today?
Well, what was interesting about today that I noted is so Devon made me do this thing called scratch vocals, which means you go in and I record the vocals on all of the songs. Okay. But the thing is, I was like, I get really stressed when I've got to do vocals.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Like
it's an intense part.
Yeah. And I'm like, the vocals need to sound so good. My voice doesn't sound great. Like, and actually I get a lot of anxiety around it. And with our last song that just came out called Over You, the first 10 times I did those vocals, my voice kept cracking. I actually couldn't hit the notes because I was so stressed about it. And only when I literally had to use like math therapy exercises to de-escalate and go through this whole process to get myself comfortable enough to do vocals. But my body physically was not hitting notes I am capable of hitting because I was in anxiety. So today what Devon did that was so interesting, I thought, is you were like, oh, well, we're just doing scratch vocals.
Yeah.
What scratch vocals are, it means you record vocals, but we're not using them in the final
It's like
album.
a placeholder.
It's a placeholder.
You might scratch them out.
You might. Oh, is that why they're called that?
Maybe. I think so.
Okay, so you're going to have, so basically you record the vocals so that they're placeholder and then we can record instruments around it. But Devon I noticed you kind of slyly did this when you were like, yeah, we're just recording them as placeholders. I'm like, if they're good, we'll keep them. And I was like, sorry, what did you just say?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, if they're good, we'll keep them, but we don't have to.
Yeah.
And I feel like on a few of our songs, I was so I was like, okay, who cares that I performed them better than I
think so. I think there's one, at least, if not two, that will use what you recorded today.
which is crazy
Because you weren't thinking about it.
because I wasn't thinking about it. We were just having fun, like Devon said. There was no stress.
Yeah.
So I actually am like, that is something in math that we call like kind of lowering the stakes, right?
Yeah.
Like so often kids like know the math, but then they go to do the test and they can't do it. Just like with the vocals, it's like, I know the vocal part, but I can't sing it if I know it's going to be the final vocal on the song.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm like thinking a lot about that and wondering, what, I mean, I'm not expecting you to have the answer to this,
Oh, I've
but
got it, I'm sure.
well, what are some of the strategies because I notice you're very skilled at de-escalating musicians. What are some of the things you do?
I think that it's really fun to find the playful aspects of whatever the task is, because a lot of times, I mean,
this is so in line with
yeah,
okay, you are such a math teacher.
I mean,
okay,
we
go.
did spend we had a good time. We also spent 3 days where it's like we need rhythm guitar tracks on all of these. So it's like, how do we make forcing David to playing guitar for 3 days from start to finish the whole day fun? Well, we found some ways.
So what way?
I think exploring different tones is fun.
Okay.
Because it's just sometimes the monotony, when it starts to feel like you're just checking off a list.
Okay, this is like a worksheet. Teachers who are listening right now, just checking off a list of things.
Maybe then it's not quite as fun, or just shifting energy too. If something in that moment isn't working, but we need to get it, it's like, it's okay. We've got some time. So we could switch gears, try out another tone, or switch some amps, or switch. Sometimes I would be like, okay, well, I've just heard this tone so much for 2 hours. Let's try something else and try and keep the energy up a little bit that way. But then again, we also had to kind of focus up and get some things done. It's like, it's playtime, but at the end of the day, we do need to get things done.
But we need to get things done. But I really like a couple of things you say. I just want to highlight and make the connection.
Yes.
That idea of play is such a big thing. Research actually shows that kids, especially young kids, learn so much through play, and we don't employ it enough in schools. Right? So because when you're playing, you're in flow. When you're creative, you're in flow. So that's when a lot of the learning happens, and it doesn't feel so like monotonous. But the other thing you said about switching up tones, it's really funny because I think about that as, so instead of like, we've got to get addition done today in school, we're just going to go with addition because I don't know what your math level is.
I can do most addition.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to say yes.
Okay. But thinking about that, switching up tone to me is a really nice metaphor of being like, and now we're going to work on it with friends. Now we're going to use manipulatives, or we're going to write it down, or maybe you're going to make a video of this concept. Or maybe, you know what? Why don't we can sit on the carpet versus the whatever. The breaks thing, the idea of like, sometimes you got to get stuff done and we need breaks. Remember like yesterday when we had a tense moment a little bit, we were kind of arguing about lyrics and you were like, you know what, let's go play some shuffleboard.
Sometimes you got to play shuffleboard.
And it was a really chill way you said it, but it was like, it was literally like just taking the temperature down.
And then it just is a little reset.
It's just a little reset. Okay, so I really love that. Is there anything else that you find gives musicians anxiety, like performance anxiety? Because I do honestly think it's the same thing, that you skillfully sort of are able to walk back or like de-escalate in order to get the best out of them.
I know a lot of musicians and non-musicians as well struggle with imposter syndrome. And a big part of that is never admitting that you have imposter syndrome, because then as soon as somebody thinks you have it, then, they absolutely, but, the fact remains, y'all are in the studio, you're playing the stuff, you sound great, it sounds great. That must happen in math as well. If you're like, well, I knew how to solve these, but this one is hard. I don't actually know anything. I never knew it before. And so definitely just realizing that even, because musicians will have horrible imposter syndrome and then also kind of be forced to present themselves overconfidently. And so they end up with a big gulf in terms of how they've been acting and talking and like, we're here to make an album. It's going to be the best rock album that ever existed. And then in your head, a musician will say like, except that I'm the only person who actually is faking my whole way through this whole thing. And so just a little bit of, honestly, encouragement, celebrating the wins, even when they're little, celebrating when they're big. We have a lot of fun in here. We make a lot of excellent stuff. And it's great to just say like, hey, this thing we just tracked was awesome. That last take you did was awesome. You did it. You did the thing.
Yeah.
This rocks.
I have noticed that. Like I also want to say, guys, Devon doesn't really know anything about what I do or any of the language I use. So I actually think it's crazy that you're saying verbatim shit that I say in my book, Celebrating the Wins. I have a whole chapter on that.
Okay. You got to celebrate the wins.
But it's so interesting because it's the strategies. This is why I say like math therapy and the work we do in math class is not just about the math, right? These are universal themes, and how funny that it's showing up in a creative pursuit that so many people think are the opposite of math and is the exact same feeling.
Yeah, totally.
And I do notice you do that. Like you celebrate the wins. You're always encouraging. I feel like Another thing I'll just say that I feel like you can do is you have a bit of a sense for when an artist, well, like I'll just say myself, when I'm getting stressed out, and you're able to like tap into that and either like speak to me about it face on, or do something like be like, why don't we just take a break, get a drink, whatever. Or you'll be like, you'll give me some real talk.
Yeah, totally.
What kinds of like real talk things would you say to someone who's experiencing imposter syndrome? Because it is one of the biggest things in math.
100%. I think it's always nice when I can identify an objective skill or an objective reality. You know, if you're feeling bad, you're like, I didn't really sing that last one well. And I'm like, well, David and I were jumping up and down, and actually, like, that might be the bridge that we use. It's like, well, we liked it. And and then I play it back. I play it back for you, like, oh, I actually really like that. That was a neat thing. It's like shifting kind of your mental perspective on something that has passed by just being faced with other people's opinions. If everybody else is saying, actually, that rocked, then you can agree, or somebody whose opinion you respect. If you're like, well, like Devon's here to tell me if I need to do it again because it didn't rock enough. And so if he's stoked, I'm stoked. I just think like excitement over small wins goes the longest way. And so when I think if a student was feeling like this is something that I've never understood, or like this kind of problem, this kind of math problem always gets me. How about for me? Long division when I was a kid with 2 digits.
Here we go, guys.
I couldn't do it. I could never do it. And I would actually just do multiplication on tests until I got it. I would guess.
I love that.
Until I got the right answer, and it would take me forever. So like long division still to this day stresses me out.
Well,
I feel like
it shouldn't be in the curriculum.
Oh, well, there you go. But I feel like you would come and you could say like, okay, but look how good you are at multiplication. Look at you did the multiplication speed test. Take those out of the curriculum? Are they still in there? That's my thing. Those.
That's a whole other interview, and we are trying, Devon.
Yes.
We are trying.
Yes, we can. You can edit this out if you want, but speed tests were the reason that I got identified as gifted as a young kid by starting to refuse to do them.
What?
And then when my grade 1 teacher asked me, "Why are you turning in these speed tests blank?" I said, "I find them pedantic."
No, you didn't.
I did as a grade 1
How
kid.
did you know that word?
So I was a bit pedantic myself at the time.
Oh my God, Devon, stop. And then you got labeled gifted?
Then I got to go to a special school
Stop,
sometime.
guys!
Yeah.
Stop it! Stop!
Also, they were pedantic. I was like, they're not proving anything. They're not showing that I know anything. They're not. I just thought they were silly.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry. I just don't
great
understand how that got you into a gifted school. And this shows the problem with labels, everyone. Like that,
100%.
it's there, done. Okay, sorry. Can we just go back? You were talking about how did you get onto this?
We were celebrating we were finding evidence, undeniable evidence of excellence in related areas. When somebody's
okay.
something.
And you're talking about the multiplication. Okay,
Yeah,
and then you went on your whole rant.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were saying exactly. So I really like what did you just say there? Undeniable evidence of excellence in related areas.
In very similar related
I fucking
areas.
love that.
Yeah.
You don't have to compliment the exact thing they're struggling with.
No.
Give them an
also, if they're not doing well at the time, you being like, you're doing great is not going to help.
And then you're not building trust. Because
Exactly.
I think that's part of it with you is if you're telling me you're doing a good job, you've now established trust with me because I know you're going to tell me if I need to redo something.
Yeah.
So when you say I've done a good job, I believe you.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is funny. Like the first half of the episode, I was going in one direction, but now I realize the real expertise, right, is like the guide, the coach. You are a math, you're like a music therapist, a music studio therapist. And so I will say one other thing, this again applies to math. You are very good at making me feel less alone and less as though the problem I'm experiencing is a me problem. So for example, if I'm like, oh my God, I just feel like this song isn't like hooky enough and like it's never going to get played on the radio, you're so good at being like, listen, the reality is like the songs that get played, like 0.1% of songs will get played on the radio. So you don't need to think about that. It's not just you.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. I think any way of being a bit relatable or acknowledging, like if somebody's singing, okay, here's a good example. So like David today was singing something and the way that he was singing it, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, that's how I would sing it, and how somebody helped me before. It's just like an opening of a vowel sound, and it's something we're all told and we're supposed to do as singers, but it's easy to forget.
By the way, the tip is to turn an E into an A.
Yes, and
So
you'll
instead
hear
of
it in
saying
songs
free,
now. Yeah.
you'll hear it in our song over you.
Yeah,
Because
that's
Devon
right.
taught me, instead of going free, I go free. No, I don't. I go
Frey.
free.
Yeah, think about how Katy Perry sings. She's doing it all the time.
Okay, and
Or Tom from Blink-182, if you're into the punk music. Those folks sing quite a lot of vowel mods. But rather than me saying...
that means vowel modification.
Rather than me just saying, David, you're singing this wrong. You need to use this vowel modification technique. I think it's just like coming out by like, hey, you know what really helped me out? That you're actually going to love in this situation. And it's just like that. It's just like fun. It's just like... you do a lot of playtime, you figure out a lot of things, and then it's exciting to share that knowledge.
And you depersonalize it, and you made it seem like you were in it together.
Yeah.
You were like, you know what helped me out? You're in this together. Honestly, I feel like we could just make a handbook right now of all these tips.
Yeah.
I will say one last thing, because David is giving us the wrap-up sign like he always does, because now he's the producer for once this month.
Hey, he's been in a podcast when it's gone on too long as well, so he understands.
Another thing that I think is really important, I'm thinking about, we have students of all different skill levels in our classrooms at any given point in time, and celebrating, the fact that one of them could add 5 plus 8 while the person next to them is adding 5 million plus 800.
Yeah.
It might be easy to forget that they are both equally large wins for each individual, depending on context and depending where they are. And this is what I will notice. I know I'm not like even close to the best singer you've ever like produced in here. Like, do you know what I mean?
Great,
Like, not that we're supposed to be comparing, but I'm sure, I can't hit as high of a note as someone else.
Sure.
But if I hit something that is like my personal best, or I know is good for me, you will make a deal of it as though like Celine Dion hit the highest note for her. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're like comparing who I am now to who I was yesterday, as opposed to who I am now to who someone else is today.
Yeah. Honestly, the other projects, everyone is at such different levels or such different points of their music.
And we're using levels in air quotes here, by the way.
Levels are like what
They're just different
people need. They're just, all the projects are different. And I just know my goal is if somebody has come in and we've worked on their song, they are leaving with the best version of that song and the best experience making it. And ideally, some excitement and knowledge that will push them to make more music, because it can be very unrewarding to pursue. And I just think that's worth trying.
This is so nice, Devon. This has been so great.
I've been having a great time. The album rips. People aren't ready for this. It's like actually so good.
And Devon wasn't lying that it's so unrewarding to put out music, because you throw it into the ether. So you can go listen to our latest single, Over You, that Devon produced.
Pretty good song.
Yeah. And taught me how to do a vowel mod. So you'll hear in the final chorus, instead of saying free, I say fray.
Yes, but our minds know it's free.
Okay, yeah, check it out. Tell us text the podcast. The link is in the show notes, and let us know what you think of the free versus fray. Okay, final 2 questions I ask everyone.
Okay,
First of all, I think the listeners will probably want to know, this is not one of the questions, but what kind of relationship do you have with math?
I always loved math. I think I had 2 best friends who were slightly better at math than me growing up, and I was slightly to a lot better at music than them. And so we did sort of find our paths that way. The math I loved and would probably do now if I could just do it casually was finite math in high school.
I knew it.
It was
data
so
management
fun.
today.
I just was like, oh, this is the fun math where it's like you've got imaginary numbers, and there kind of was less of a focus on the right answer and more a focus on playing with these ideas about math. And I know that might not apply to like all mathematical scenarios where you are trying to get a right answer.
No, but the funniest thing about what you said is it is 100% about a right answer.
Yeah.
But I think you just literally proved everything you've said. There is a right answer in every finite/data management question. That's what we call it now in Canada.
Yeah.
But because it's so playful, it's like probabilities and trying to figure out permutations and different combinations of things. You probably were feeling so much more creatively invested
100%.
that the right answer wasn't throwing you off, the quest for it.
Yeah. I think I agree.
That is very cool. And by the way, you said if you could just do it today casually, you could.
Yeah.
You can.
Just do data management?
Yeah, or just like some math. We can find you some math to do.
Just do some
Even
math.
though you're doing it every day. Okay, final 2 questions we ask everyone.
Hit me.
Number 1, what if someone was listening to this and they were like, no, this is cool. Like, I totally get what you're saying. It's just like, I'm actually going to switch it for you. What if they were like, I'm just not like a music person. Like, I just couldn't like, I can't really like do it. I can just like make an album.
I do think everyone has a lot of potential to be a musician. And in a lot of ways, anybody can do it. I think there are like the ways that systemic barriers and discrimination have made it harder for people to pick it up naturally. And maybe like sometimes people seem to glom onto it more naturally than others, but I don't know if that's like a biology driven thing. I think that has more to do with like access and opportunity and that sort of thing. And so I guess like maybe it's the same with math. I'm not sure.
Would you be like, you know what, come into the studio and let me like let's make some music together?
I think everybody should try at some point in their life. It's a very fun thing.
I love it. Okay. Yeah. And finally, if there was one thing you were going to change about the way math is taught in schools, what would it be?
Oh, I feel like saying how could they make it more fun is a silly thing because I think that's always the goal of most teachers. But thinking back, I probably liked finite because I had a teacher who was able to make it fun, given that it's now got a very boring sounding rebrand. It's gone from being finite, which is actually infinite, to something with data. And I guess people wanted jobs, which also makes sense. I can't be like, I'm a finite mathematician. And it's like, great, well, I work at a grocery store. So, yeah. So, but I do think like, even in the studio, it's like the more fun we have, the better the stuff is. And that's a simple thing. And so a lot of times I'm just trying to figure out what type of fun people like to have, all while trying to get the album done secretly.
What type of fun people like to have. I'm going to leave us on that note. That is a beautiful call out to teachers of all types of just try to figure out what type of fun your students like to have, all the while secretly trying to teach the content you need to teach.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Devon, thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Thank you for doing this.
We should have our own new podcast.
Oh
you
God.
need more podcasts.
What should we call it, do you think?
Just
hanging.
Shooting.
Okay, that's the end.
Yeah,
okay.
we're done.
That was great. And my favorite part of it was when Devon used the word pedantic, non-ironically, because there's one song on our album where I've been 50-50 on including the word pedantic as a lyric. And now I've moved over to 100%. It's
and
going
tell us
in.
what the song's about. The listeners want to know what the song's about.
Sign up for the pre-sale.